Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you so much for coming. I am Tanya Janka, and I'm here with my friend Jerry.
Hello.
This is the first book stream for this book that I wrote. So, Alice and Bob Learn Secure Coding. This is my second book. I'm Tanya Janka, the author, and I wanted to take time for every chapter in this book with a friend, in this case, my amazing friend Jerry. You will love him. To go over the contents of the book, talk about it, answer questions from the audience, and essentially add an audio and visual learning ability for people for the book. This chance for you to learn even more than what I wrote. I did this for my first book. People seem to really enjoy it. And yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do here. So Jerry, could you introduce yourself?
I'd love to. I'm super pumped for this stream. I'm super pumped just to be part of this and engage with everybody. And I hope that folks in chat have a good experience as well. My name is Gerald Auger. I have worked in cybersecurity for a little over 20 years. I love cybersecurity. I love talking about it. I love working it. I love studying it. I love like my wife, who's not in industry, swears she could pass the CISP just by virtue of being next to me so as much as she has been. So I love that. I do run Simply Cyber, which is a YouTube channel / community that's all about, support, inclusion, and empowerment for anyone that wants to do anything with cybersecurity, whether it's break in, level up, build a network, whatever. And that, which is totally on brand for what we're doing right now, Tanya. I'm an educator at the Citadel Military College as well. I sometimes forget that. And education, cyber, and helping people is like my foundation. And your book is hitting on all of those.
Thank you. So I put a link to Simply Cyber in the chat because
thanks.
I suspect people will like that if they like this. And I want to give them all the things because the purpose of this is to help people learn. And also, I guess, just engage with the amazing people that support me because I really appreciate them. And that's you, listeners, viewers. So who am I? So I'm Tanya Janka. Sometimes I'm called She Hacks Purple because I kept doing blue team defensive things and then red team attacker things. I was a pen tester that kept doing pair programming, and you better believe it, Jerry, my boss did not like it. And I started writing and talking and writing more and talking more. And then eventually someone was like, hey, maybe you should write a book. And eventually it turns out like the hobby can just get out of hand and then you have multiple books.
Right. Yeah, it's a thing.
Right. And so chapter 1 is, as you can imagine, it's introductory security fundamentals. And we cover a whole bunch of topics. And so I want to invite the audience at any point, if you want to ask about anything specific, you can. But what the plan was, Jerry and I came up with, is we're going to go over different topics and discuss the ones that we like. And then we're going to look at some of the questions at the end of the book, and we're going to answer any questions you have for us. But if you're like, I want to talk about security obscurity and I want to talk about it now, I can't wait. No, that's okay, right? Because so I think that I explained things well, right? But that doesn't mean I did. And so maybe there's questions. And so, but for now, did you want to talk about the first section, Jerry, like the whole assume all other systems and data are insecure?
Yeah, I love that. Let's get right into it. I mean, this book, it's, chapter 1, introduction, right? Like I love it. That it really, it's kind of assumed, right? Like this is what I would expect to see in any kind of technical book. And by the way, just as a quick aside, the one thing I told Tanya right before we came on, but for everybody in chat's benefit, one thing I read this chapter in preparation for this stream, and it was like, I felt kind of refreshed after reading it. Like, now I understand the content obviously already, but like, it felt like a fresh, like light read, like, oh, like that was enjoyable. You know what I mean? So it doesn't read like a technical textbook, but there are technical elements to it. It's just, you know what I think it is? I tried to analyze it because I'm a nerd. like, why is this working? Tanya does a great job of like delivering some information and then immediately using it in a case study that's like wicked accessible to everybody, to understand how you could like, I guess, store the information to benefit from the whatever the objective is of that learning objective. So I definitely love that. Assuming all other systems and data are insecure, I mean, that's a very accessible way of saying zero trust, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, which is like kind of an advanced topic for people, and it's the very first thing that you dive into. Did you do that just to kind of set the tone for the reader to be like, shields up, like everything is insecure?
I did it because, so I think from a software perspective, the number one most important thing we could possibly do is input validation. And when we get so input is anything that comes into your system, connects to your system, gets added to your system, you open from your system. Anything that's from outside that comes inside is crossing this trust boundary. And that is the part that we are the worst at as an industry. We don't realize that we should not trust it. We take it and use it and then check after. We check improperly. So we'll use like a block list, a list of, oh, those things are bad. It's not one of those things, so it's probably fine, which is dangerous. And in my first book, I was like, trust no one, not even your mom, because my mom accidentally sent me malware once.
Oh,
and
nice.
like,
Thanks, Mom.
I know, I still love her. But I opened it, even though it looked suspicious, because it was from my mom, right? And a lot of us will be like, no, but I can trust it because it came from Google. And it's like, yeah, but what if Google got compromised? What if, you don't do authentication and authorization, and so then there's no integrity there, and then you don't know what you got. How would you maybe define zero trust for someone who isn't a zero trust person, like, or who doesn't know
I mean,
that?
so I feel like I'm good at cybersecurity because I just have a healthy level of like, not risk aversion, but like a healthy level of suspicion, right? Like, you get a call, you're like, who's this from? You know what I mean? Instead of being like, oh, look, I won 50 grand. Like, ooh, it's like, no, like, where's this coming from? What is it? I mean, as far as like zero trust, I mean, that's a term for us as practitioners and IT people to implement. But when we are educating our end users, because assume all other systems and data are insecure is the title of the section. I just want to back up for a second and point out, like, there's two audiences that read that, and both audiences get something different from it. So for practitioners, assume all systems and data are insecure. This is a starting point for you to frame how you're going to approach setting up protections, setting up detections, and thinking through architecturally, like, boundaries and segmentation and stuff like that, and the cloud versus on-prem.
Yeah.
For end users, that's more of a almost like a vibe that they need to understand. Like, listen, like, I know you're just here to do your job. I know you're just here to like punch in, punch out, or, your family members, like you said, your mom emailing you and stuff like that. But like, no matter who it's from, no matter what it is, like if for whatever reason it seems a little odd, like just 6 cents weird, just be a little sus. Like even that email from your mom, like I'm sure there was something odd about it, right? Like maybe you can't even put your finger on it, but you're like, that's weird. Like my mom never emails me. All she knows how to do is text, right? Like why would she email me? Like immediately right there. As soon as a flag goes up, you should be like, okay, like let me just kind of investigate this. And I always tell people, like, treat it like a little bit of a puzzle, right? Like, like maybe it is fine, maybe it's not fine, but like do a little bit of investigation, have a little fun with it.
Yes, yes, yes. All of those things. Honestly, so how that virus happened is me and my mom both worked in the government, and we both had secret clearance, but we worked at different departments, but we're also both dyslexic.
Okay.
And so we'd both make a lot of typos. And this was back when spell check wasn't that good. I think you had to pay extra for spell check or something. And so,
oh my God, wow.
Like it was like a long time ago. And so we would email each other documents, like government documents, to proofread for each other all the time. And it's like, Was that a security risk? Probably.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
not the best, right?
I
But
feel like that's a security control that we could talk about in like the fifth
yeah,
book,
yeah.
right?
We didn't
Media
have
classification.
yeah, we didn't have need to know on each other's stuff. Um, but people did do way worse every day. But anyway, like our intentions were good. And so she would just send me a Word doc with no subject and no nothing. And it would be like draft one dot doc. And I would open it.
Okay.
And so that's what ended up being the malware. It was like resume dot. I'm like, why is my mom sending me a resume? That's weird. She's not looking for a job because she worked at the same place for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I opened it and was like, oh no. So I was like,
Yeah.
from now on, mom, you have to like put words in the email. And she's like, that's reasonable. And
Yeah.
also I was like, spell check's a thing. We should maybe spell check. And instead we should just have lunch. So we have an excuse to talk to each other.
That's great. I like it. I will say it brings up an interesting point, and one that, again, who this book is designed for.
Mhm.
It's important to note that you cannot reduce all risk, right? You cannot stop everything. Like, I feel like a lot of introductory cyber programs, they're all like, here's all the controls. Here's guards, guns, gates, passwords, MFA, firewalls. Like, here's all the tech,
Mhm.
right? And the reality is they never say like, and some of it's going to get through. So like, being comfortable to understand that like sometimes your mom who sends you emails all the time is going to send you one that looks just like it always did. And for that one right there, Tanya, like 100 out of 100 times you'll fall for that, right? Because
Yeah,
why
because we
wouldn't you?
did
It's
it.
the same thing all the time. It's exploiting trust. It's exploiting familiarity. And
Yeah.
yeah, so but now you got to start thinking about like, okay, like what, managing your blast radius, and how do you
Oh yeah.
handle the response to that particular issue?
Like having anti-malware, right? So I was on
Yeah.
a Mac, so I opened it and it became clear it was malware, but because I had a Mac and most malware focuses on Windows, I was fine, right? So a little and then it was
Yeah.
okay, right?
Especially
But
back in the day, like what,
mhm.
it sounds like this was a while ago, but
Oh,
yeah, Mac malware wasn't so prolific like 15 years ago.
yeah, this was like 2002 or something. It was a
Oh
long
yeah.
time ago. Oh yeah. But there's two questions in the chat I kind of want to look at. And
Oh
one
yeah,
was
let's
like,
go.
can you compare this book to your other book? So my first book, which I will just grab a copy of, my first book's called Alice and Bobbler and Application Security. And you want this book if you are going to create a security program or become an application security engineer. It does have a section on secure coding and secure design, but the new book, Alice and Bobbler and Secure Coding, that's for software developers, software architects, maybe managers of software teams. Application security engineers will definitely get a lot out of it, especially if they're doing any sort of code review. But so purple team, the idea is that a pen tester, so a red teamer type of person could read this, but also a blue teamer, so an AppSec person that defends code, reviews code, runs the SaaS tools, setups, the security tools and the DevOps pipeline, stuff like that. It's for the red and blue team type of person. Someone told me years ago that yellow team apparently is software developers. So I made that book yellow for them to say, like, this one is specifically for you. I don't think anyone uses the term yellow team, and that's fine. None of that matters. But it's aimed at people that build software and or write any code as part of their job. And as we're vibe coding, it's more important than ever before. Jerry, I don't know if you wanted to make a comment about the difference between I have one more comment.
The difference
So
between your books? I mean, I think you're the subject matter expert on that one, no doubt.
yeah. I have one more comment is that so I have dyslexia and then I also have ADHD, and I tried to make the books as accessible and easy to understand as I possibly could because I I love reading. I read a zillion books. I read several books per month, but I have a lot of problems with textbooks. I find them very hard. I rarely read textbooks despite really wanting to absorb that knowledge. And so I wanted to make it where anyone could pick it up and understand it easily. And, someone told me, so I'd given her the yellow book on a Friday, and then she messaged me on Monday, and she's like, I started reading it, and I was just going to read a little, and then I read the whole thing, and it felt like I spent the weekend with you, and you just told me a whole bunch of stuff. It felt like Tanya's just telling me this. And she's like, and it was okay. And she's like, oh, I really liked it, actually. And I was like, that's such a wonderful compliment for you. Thank you. And she's like, it felt like we were having a conversation all weekend, and you just kept telling me important things.
Yeah,
And
it definitely is written in a very, I guess that's why I said it felt like an easy read, like a beach read, I guess, to put it plainly, which is interesting because it's a technical document. It almost kind of feels like, if you're familiar with No Starch Press books, it kind of has a very similar, like, if for anyone in chat, like if you've read one of their books, it has a similar kind of flow and vibe as far as like the accessibility and the examples and stuff like that, which I'm a fan of that format for technical books. Like just dumping technical information on me is tough, because then I almost need to I don't know about you, Tanya, like this is considered blasphemy. I've had librarians lose their mind on me, but like I'm the guy who folds a page as a bookmark. I'm also the guy who highlights in the book and then writes notes in the margins. And then I'll go back after I read the book one full time. I'll go back and just go through my notes and then transcribe them into like my second brain type situation. Plus it helps me remember the key points and whatnot. But when it's like very deep technical stuff, I have to have a second book and actively transcribe, and it kind of disrupts my consumption of that knowledge. So yeah, kudos to you. Your book is on the right side of doing it correctly.
Thank you. And for the person that asked, I'm not planning on releasing another version of the Purple Book. I know that it probably needs updates at some point, but I don't have space for that at this moment. But we had another question. So Paul asks, what are the key areas I should focus on, and how is AI shaping the AppSec space? Is there any advice in landing my first role in AppSec? So, I mean, I'm going to be super biased here and be like, you should read the Purple Book. And then I built 3 courses that I put for free. Well, it is free for you. I did get paid for them, and that was very nice. So
Nice.
SumGraph has an academy that I built for them, and most of the courses in there I built. And so I just shared a link. And so yes, they'll add you to their mailing list. Their newsletter is not bad. I used to write it for them. It's very nerdy. It's once a month. You can unsubscribe if you need to. But basically, you can take 3 levels of application security, and it helps teach you how to build programs. And so between the book and that, hopefully you should be doing all right. And then you could also go to my YouTube channel, and you could watch these lectures for the Purple Book. There's a lecture for every chapter, and all of that's free too, because I want there to be more AppSec people in the world. And then lastly, find a professional mentor. That is the thing that really, really helped me. And then I see all these amazing people giving wonderful advice to that person in the chat. Thank you, all of you, for doing that. Hello from Italy. Hello. And then I think, with your Canadian accent, have you ever curled? Of course I've done curling.
Yeah,
of course,
of
course I played hockey. Of course I eat poutine.
Yeah, Steve comes from a long, well-respected family of curlers. Like I think it's the women's side of his family are like recognized Minnesota champion curlers. So he's legit in the curling scene.
Nice. I do think curling's really nice.
I love it. Every 4 years, I'm a huge curling fan.
If you just drink enough beer, it's way better. You're not doing it right.
Oh yeah, no, dude, 100% curling is a bar sport, right? I mean, I have to imagine that.
I find it very peaceful, but I was in Ottawa. So if we go to if we scroll down or turn a few pages in the book, there's a section on top secret. And I was in Ottawa 2 weeks ago, Jerry, or a week and a half ago. And I speak French, je parle français. I'm Canadian, and I learned French as an adult. And I was working with some governmental people that will not be named where they work and what we're doing, but obviously cybers. I was reminded that top secret in French is très secret, which means very secret.
Okay.
Every time I say très secret, it makes me feel like I'm being silly, Jerry, because I'm like, it's not just secret, it's very secret.
Yeah, yeah.
Like top secret feels more serious. And I love my francophone friends, but it's I don't want to say adorable, but it's like kind of like a saucier way to say top secret.
Yeah, yeah, it is very saucy. Like there's a animated GIF of me wearing a top hat where I'm doing like this move, and that is like rolling in my brain right now of like, it is very secret. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Like pinky out secret kind of thing.
Yes, like Austin Powers is very
Yeah,
secret.
yeah, yeah, 100%. No, I love it. I love it. You know, another thing about your book that I really enjoyed is so you have these examples sprinkled throughout. And did you do this in your purple book as well?
Um, yes, I did constantly examples and then stories with Alice and Bob. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, are you Alice?" I'm like, "I'm Alice and Bob. I was Bob from, I learned to code when I was 16 until maybe age like 31. I was Bob, and then I became Alice, if that makes sense, and did more senior work and management work and cybersecurity work, and kind of was more senior in my career from 31 on. And sometimes these stories I add a happy ending that didn't really happen.
Yeah, it's nice to leave a minty taste on the palate instead of the reality taste.
Yeah, I added a lot of happier GRC stories because I didn't have good experiences with pretty much every GRC team I've ever worked with, because it was the government and they're not given the best tools. They're not given the best options. The government tends to be like a decade behind
Oh my God. Yeah.
industry, and it's very frustrating for the people that work there. And so here they are, like they're being told that they have to implement, changing passwords every 90 days. Still, Jerry,
I know.
still they're
I mean, I thought we got past that. I mean, okay. You know what bothers me about that? Like, since we're on the topic, like,
user cruelty.
I know, but we have very few wins in our industry where like the customer or the end user wins and we win. Very few. And when we could say you don't have to change your password anymore unless it gets compromised, if you make it a sentence, like don't even explain to them 50, 60 characters, just say, make it a sentence and you'll never have to change your password again. Like, who wouldn't want that, right? Every 90 days, get out of here with that. All you're going to do is get the password with an incrementing digit on the end.
For those of
It
you that
grinds
are
my
watching,
gears. It grinds my gears. I'm just mad about it.
the people on Twitch, most of the people are on my YouTube, which is just if you look up YouTube and then at She Acts Purple, you'll find us there. There's more people commenting and chatting there. And then there's quite a few people on my LinkedIn if you look up Tanya Janka. Twitch was sort of like an extra added bonus. I agree with you, Jerry. We don't have very many wins. Also, like when we make security usable and easy, and the default is the secure way and the easiest way, we get great compliance. And by that,
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
mean, people do the thing, right? And they don't undo the thing. And as an industry, I feel like sometimes we don't focus enough on usable security. Like it's not as important as maybe it should be.
Yeah, no, it is a challenge. I mean, I feel like, I mean, that's kind of a bigger topic. I hadn't really thought about it. But I always celebrate the wins when they happen. But as I think about it, it's like we are very like control focused and very like, oh, like we understand the risks. Here's what needs to happen. And if it benefits you, great. And if it doesn't, you have to understand that the compromise is for the better of the business. But we are very like in our laptops, except for GRC for the most part, you don't even want to talk to people. Like SOC people don't want to, pen testers got their hoodies on. Like the only time they're talking to someone is when they're lying to them. So like we never invest in the user experience for end users ever. Like it's not part of any degree program I've ever been part of. And it is interesting. It's almost like if you get a degree in cybersecurity, there should be like a class on empathy that you have to take and like, begin to appreciate what's going on. Although I will say, I've always done this, and I think it's a best practice. The term is eat your own dog food. I think it's a stupid term, but basically, anytime that you encounter friction from a security control, you almost have to smile and be like, well, that's what it is. And then if it's too unbearable, like maybe investigate like how to fix it, because it's clearly a problem for everybody else. Not give yourself an exception, right? I hate when people do that. It's like, oh, like I know better, so I'm just going to give myself an exception on this policy. I don't need MFA anywhere. It's like,
But I won't give my users that exception. Hypocrisy, not a good look.
yeah, horrible look, and bad for like not politics, but like buy-in and just reciprocal empathy, because people are like, well, this is like haves and have-nots. Like you'll get revolution, and I mean I'm being a little extreme, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, well, you get software developers that just go around the policy. So
Yep.
all developers are hackers. They just say, oh, I made a workaround. And I'm like, oh, could you please show me your exploit? Because usually that's what it is, Jerry, right? And it's not that they're intentionally causing security holes. They're trying to get their job done, and we are in their way, and people will go around us. Another slightly nicer way to say eat your own dog food is to drink your own champagne. So I believe that's how they say it in Europe. And
Okay,
I like
that
that
sounds
better.
very European. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's when I was at Microsoft, they would say eat our own dog food. And for those that don't know, and I don't believe this is like a big secret or anything, when Microsoft employees use any Microsoft product, there's this orange button that says dog food. And any moment that you are using any product, you click the button and you're like, I don't like this crashed, this happened, blah, 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 blah. And that team instantly gets that feedback. And they'll be like, Tanya, what do you mean? What were you doing? What'd you enter? I'm like, this, blah, blah, this happened. They're like, okay, send us a picture. I'm like, great. And then the bug wasn't there.
That's cool.
And sometimes they're like, we know, right? Like it's on our list or whatever, but it was cool that you could immediately reach that team. And then of course they tried all the new stuff on us. And sometimes we're like, oh,
So you were like, you had
needs more work. Don't show customers yet.
Did you have Alpha Clippy? Is that what you had?
Beta Clippy.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cute inside jokes about Clippy.
I bet.
Yeah. I'm seeing. So the chat is awesome. So you're so friendly and precise in your communications, Tanya. What's your superpower for staying positive? Any book or training recommendations? So in the government, when I switched from being a software developer to a manager, I moved to citizenship and immigration. And I'm just going to be really blunt. The morale there was really low. People were pretty unhappy. My manager was terrible. They did a bait and switch and offered me one job, and then I got there and they gave me a different job. So I was supposed to lead the .NET team, and then they gave me the SAP ABAP team and basis. I hate ABAP. That is the most painful programming language ever. I don't think that SAP is not like a bad product or whatever. It's not my pleasure to. I don't want to work in a COTS product. I want to build custom Snowflake software. I want to do .NET, or I did. I mean, I still love .NET, let's be honest. But the point is like, it was terrible and awful. And so I got there and they made every single manager that year take 18 manager courses.
Oh.
And yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm going to learn how to be a manager. This is great. And there were all these communication courses. They were very interesting. And like one was like, if someone speaks really loudly to you, you should speak really loudly back. If one is really quiet, you should speak quietly back, because then you'll be able to kind of like connect with them better. And so I had this team with 4 people, 3 extremely timid, gentle, shy, introverted men, and 1 unbelievably extroverted, raise her voice, yell, swear at clients, hang up on people, use the F word in meetings, very aggressive woman. And I remember going into her office after speaking to the men, and I didn't realize I'd like lowered and gentled my voice talking to them. And I went into her office and I was like, hi, blah, blah. And she's like, why are you talking to me like a baby? And I was like, have you forgotten that I am your direct manager? And I've always looked really young for my age. So here I am, like 31, and I'm the boss of 50-year-olds, but I also look 16. Like I remember getting carded until like my 40s, and like I remember I went when I was 31 to the library, and they asked if I was 16 and I could have an adult card yet. Like
Oh my God.
yeah,
Okay.
like I really looked young, and like here I am trying to boss around this person, right? And so I learned to make my voice loud and firm and use affirmative comments and like commands and orders with her. Like I'd be like, this is happening, we're doing this, and she'd be like, we're not, and like, we are because of this. And I'd have to be like 10,000% more assertive than normal in order to communicate
Wow.
with this person. But as a result, I was able to, so it was to the point where the client of that team wouldn't speak to them or engage. And we're trying to figure out how they could contract out instead of using our team and like get us fired. And I took us from being like months or years behind on our projects to being several months ahead of schedule, having the client happy with us again, having the client only phone me from then on and
Yeah.
not that person, being able to rein that person in, but where she was really happy because she felt like someone finally heard her. The men were less terrified of her. She was a little terrifying, but eventually, like once I understood how to engage with her, it sounds weird, but by the end, she was like, "Want to have coffee?" I was like, "Yeah," because I understood how to communicate with her. And so by taking all these manager classes and communication classes, and one of the classes was called Having Difficult Conversations, and it was 5 days about how you, this is what we're paying you for. You have to have this hard conversation. You have to tell the person you being late all the time is going to make your job here hard, and it's going to make me come down on you hard, and that's going to suck. So what can we do so that you can show up on time?
Yeah.
Or what can we do to make it so that I don't need you to do, like, what are the options here, right? And why you have to have difficult, like, and I don't have to have difficult conversations that often, but I still do. And like, even with people you love, sometimes you have to say like, this is not okay, and how to like draw a boundary. And when you're a boss, you really, if you don't draw boundaries, it's not going to go well. And so I see lots of things are going off the screen, but lots of comments are going off the screen, but
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
I certainly agree that I mean to me that's like a very GRC skill too. Like obviously internally to the infosec team, if you're managing, like certainly good lessons learned, but even when you're talking to the business and you're trying to get behavior change or buy-in on initiatives or even just their friggin' attention, because sometimes they're just in their phone or whatever, especially if you're doing like more than just a quick conversation. If you're trying to do like a tabletop exercise, like being able to communicate effectively is a really great skill to have. I would love to take that. I mean, again, I should probably take a course on having hard conversations because I'm not great at them, but 18 courses in 1 year, that's
yeah.
1.5 courses a year. I mean, a month,
I think
which
they
is
gave us 18 months to do it, but
okay.
I did it in a year because I took that job specifically. So I had to compete against 5,000 people. I had to do 3 exams and 3 interviews to get this job where I got to go take French training. And as a dyslexic adult, it's almost impossible to learn a second language as an adult. And so I got sent to a special school, and I had been doing night school for years and literally been kicked out of night school because I couldn't learn the way they were teaching. And so if I wanted to get in to the one special school in Canada that's for dyslexic adults learning additional languages, I needed to get funding for that. And so I won the job. And someone was saying in the chat that they feel insecure that they're 34 and they don't have a senior role. I mean, I started coding at 16. I got my first job at 18. I was the lead developer at a startup by 20. I started my own first tech company. So it was not my first company because I already ran an events concert company at 19. And then by 23, I started my first startup. I've been that person from the beginning. Like when I was in college, there was a really early class and I slept through. And so I actually derived my own functions for all of my graphics because I just missed the class where they told us how to move all the things. So I made my own graphics functions. I was top of the class, got the class project. Like won multiple awards when I graduated high school. Like I'm that person. And so getting a senior role at a young age is because of, you know, being the person that always volunteers, doing all the projects, doing the exceptional things, like just constantly proving myself constantly. I don't think you should feel bad that you don't have a senior role. Not everyone ever gets a senior role. And I feel like if you want a senior role, you should question the reasons that you want it. Like, do you want it because you want to be paid more money? Because if so, you might be able to switch at intermediate to another company and still make lots of money, and make more money, right? Because it's a bigger company. Versus, do you want a senior role because you want to lead? Are you a leader? Do you want to solve the extremely difficult challenges? Because I like the challenges where it's like, this crushes my brain and I don't know if I can succeed and I want to do it anyway. Like, do you want to specialize in something to the point where it's an extreme niche in your organization? Like, those are the reasons to become a senior developer. If you just want more money, maybe switch to a company that pays more. I know that that sounds weird, but I find a lot of people are like, oh, I want to get promoted. And it's like, did you want to work more hours? Did you want to have more hard conversations? And they're like, I don't want any of that. It's like, well, if you want more money, instead strategize for the thing you actually want. Anyway, lots of career advice.
Yeah. And just also, you know, there's a couple other things. I mean, there's a lot of unknown variables here, but, you know, did you start like working in industry last year? You know what I mean? Like you may not be ready. You may not have earned a senior position yet. One, two, from the other perspective, maybe you're being marginalized by toxic work environment, right? So there's a lot of different potential. Everything Tanya just said is 100% right on. If you want more money, like the easiest way is to switch jobs. Like you'll get 3% every year, and regardless if you crush it or if you barely make it over the finish line, because budgets are already allocated for salary before your performance review ever happens, which is sad but true. But when you go to another job, like the market's already adjusted for that salary for that role, you could probably make a parallel move and get more money. So I'm with you, Tanya. It's why do you want senior? Like what does that mean? So
I actually had done the senior role for quite some time before I managed to get promoted technically to that level. And like, quite frankly, like sexism is real. And I've had a lot of bosses make passes at me and then I decline and then I don't get the promotion. I've had that happen multiple times. Yeah. And yeah, it sucks. That is not as common anymore, but I'm also older and pricklier now. I feel like maybe I seem a little more dangerous, but I think that figure out the reason why you want senior, because maybe it's prestige too, right? It's funny. I've been getting a lot of career coaching lately from a bunch of different people because I'm making some changes. And one of them was telling me yesterday how like he really doesn't want prestige to be a part of what he does. And he actually does a lot of amazing things. And he shies away from the limelight and other things because he doesn't want that to be part of what makes him value himself as a person. He wants to solve hard problems. He wants to perform good and do amazing work. But he doesn't want to feel like if he doesn't do whatever prestigious thing, like that he doesn't love himself anymore. He didn't word it like that, but if that makes sense. Because I was talking about someone in my personal life where she is in a very prestigious job that pays a lot and she's totally miserable. And she had a job where she made half as much, but still really good money. And she was just so happy. And it was significantly less prestigious, but like she loves her team and she loved what she did. And she found the challenges like so awesome. But she's like, no, but the job I have is like incredibly prestigious and pays lots of money. So I have to keep it. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have to do that.
Says who? Yeah.
Right. And she's married. So there's two incomes and like they do really well. Anyway, I'm always like, do what makes you happy. And she's like, no. Anyway, I feel like we should talk a little bit about the book.
Yeah. Well, so talking about the book, you know, we talked earlier and we're talking about Tanya's book, Alice and Bob Learn Secure Coding. And chapter 1, which is the introduction chapter, and covers a lot of things. It goes way deeper than super surface level, which is great. But One of the things she gets into early in the book is least privilege. And we talked earlier about accessibility to making an easy read and stuff. One of the other things that I appreciate what Tanya did with this book is that it's also generationally accessible. Now, she doesn't have like 6, 7 or yeet or whatever in this book, but she does use some examples that resonate with younger people. So when talking about least privilege, she actually uses an example to demonstrate what least privilege is, talking about electronic smart locks for a family home, which, I would say 99% of people, grew up in an apartment or a house or a home or grandma and grandpa's house, wherever you weren't homeless, right? Like I know that there are people out there, so I'm not saying everybody had a home, but for the most part, everybody has a place and there's a door that, is ingress, egress to the outside world. And there's a lock on the door. That's pretty accessible. But the example she gives is that it's an electric lock and mom and dad can walk in and out of it anytime using their thumbs. But at 12:05 a.m., to 6 a.m. or whatever, 7 a.m., your kids' thumbs don't unlock the door anymore, and the kids will have to ring the doorbell, therefore alerting the parents that they have missed curfew. Effectively, a pretty clever control around detecting a policy violation. If you want to get wicked nerdy about it, the policy is you eat in by midnight, they violate the policy, and there's a detection of the doorbell. But getting back to least privilege, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like young people, like adults, don't have curfews, right? I mean, like you go to bed when you want. And the reality is once you can go to bed whenever you want, you go to bed at 10 or 9:30 because you want to go to bed, right?
Because otherwise your body punishes you.
Yeah, exactly. So, but kids can appreciate the curfew. And then the fact that they can't do something, but mom and dad can, right? It's always like, how come you guys can swear and I can't? Or how come you guys can stay up late and I can't? So just as one example in the book, it's just, to me, it's another subtle nod to making it accessible to a wider audience. So like younger people, the 16-year-old Tanya who's about to learn coding can pick this book up and feel like it's written for her. Not just, oh, this is my dad's book or this is my mom's book and I'm reading it and trying to be like, extra. It's like, no, this book is written and it takes me into account. I like that about it.
Thank you. I feel like least privilege is one that's really, it's unpleasant. It feels unpleasant to experience it, especially if it's not well implemented. So I remember as a software developer, and I had a lot of friction with the security team. And I'm going to be really honest with the whole audience is that when I work places on the security team, I will still have a lot of friction. And it's almost always with the security team, not the software developers. Like I've had my colleagues on my team say to me, are you on their team or our team? And it's because I was a dev still longer than I did security. Still, I have more history because I did that 17 years and I think I'm on like year 12 of security. And because I'm year 29 in my career, and I think that adds up correctly. So essentially, I got that they're just like, we're taking your admin rights away. And I'm like, but then I can't do my job properly. And they're like, why do you need admin rights? I'm like, because I need to install random shit off the internet on my laptop so that I can play with it and see if I want to use this plugin or this whatever, right? Like I want to download random code from the internet and then I want to run it and like all the dangerous things, right? But unfortunately, like the security team wasn't like, here's a safe sandbox area where you can be YOLO about everything you're doing, where you can experiment and play and do all those things to figure out what the thing is, and then we can approve it for production use, right? That wasn't an option. They're just like, no, you get nothing. And I remember they're like, you're not allowed to plug a USB in, and you're not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. And so basically they made it so we couldn't play music at work. And I was like, no, I will die if I can't listen to music while I code. Yeah. I don't know about you, but music fuels me when I code. I have to have music when I code, or I code half as much. I don't know how to explain it, but like
I play music for to get into flow. If I'm like, I mean, I don't code anymore. I don't know if you know this. I used to be a software developer too.
I think you told me that. Now it's
Yeah,
refreshing
like
in my
when
brain.
my first career, I mean, I didn't do it very long because I found my passion. But anyways, I when you're coding, like you're in the for those who don't know, right, real quickly, like when you're coding, and Tanya, I assume this is the same. I've just always assumed this is the same for everybody.
Mhm.
When you're, yes, you're looking at code and you've got multiple IDE windows and stuff like that. But the reality is you have a visual like cloud in your head of like objects and the way things are interacting with each other. And you're kind of keeping a mental model going of the bigger picture, and you can't get distracted. So like the music almost kind of sets like some type of weird barrier around that. And by the way, if someone's coding, the worst thing you can do is, hey, can I just ask you a quick question? Because like a quick question or a 25-minute lunch break, it's the same level of popping my balloon. Like, no, you can't. You can't. All right. Anyway, sorry. I like
That's
and
why Slack's
PTSD.
such a problem, right? Like if you have I remember my boss was like, "Why do you have all the notifications off?" I'm like, "Because then you'll interrupt me every 2 seconds, and then I won't be able to work."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead, I open it once a day and answer everything and then come back. Like, I don't know, text me if you really need me. I'm just like,
Yeah. No, 100%. And I didn't see this in your book, but it is an important note for everybody in here. And you may have had it in just a different way and I missed it. But one thing about privilege, excuse me,
mm,
least privileged or privileged access management, as is one dimension of least privilege, is incredibly valuable as a security control. If malware gets on a machine and you're detonating it under a non-privileged account, the blast radius is smaller, the lateral movement is less. So it is a very important control. The problem is, if it was easy, we wouldn't be talking about it. The problem
mm,
is you go to do something and it doesn't work, right? Say you're Tanya and trying to install something, or you're just an IT person trying to do something, or you're a finance person trying to do your job or whatever. You try to do something and it doesn't work. Well, then you start tinkering, making changes to see if it'll work, see if it'll work. And then you like right click. It used to be right click, change permissions to everyone, and all of a sudden it works. Now you're faced with a choice. Do you reset the permissions and then try to continue to figure out what the problem is? Or do you just say, my problem is solved? Most people say their problem solved because their job is to get work done, not to figure out these permissions. And that introduces risk. And unfortunately, you there's like a perverse incentive here. If everyone has access to everything, you get no help desk calls about those problems. And that's great for the help desk because they're not getting bamboozled by these calls. So unfortunately, least privilege is a very cool concept for everybody to wrap their head around. But in practice, it is one of the more challenging ones. Like go to any, like right now, you go to any business that is good size, like a medium sized business, like let's say like, 20, 30 million annual revenue or whatever, that grew from a small business, right? And look how many domain admins they have. Like the entire IT team is going to be a domain admin. There'll probably be domain admin accounts for people who don't work there anymore. It's bad. It's bad. It's usually like you reach some threshold or you get an external audit and they come in and shut all that down. But dude, yeah, again, PTSD, Tanya, just
I have an example of least privilege that's really good that I use when I teach. And I think I forgot to tell everyone I teach secure coding. So if you need someone to do that for you, please hire me. I'm supposed to say that. That's what my sales mentor says. Anyway, um, so least privilege, for just to define it, is giving whatever, the API, the service account, the user, the person access, all the access they need to do their job or their specific action they need to do, and nothing more. The least amount of privileges they require to be completely successful. So that does not mean giving them not quite enough and making their job hell. It means giving them enough so that they can do all the things that they are required to do, but that's it. And so there's this guy named Travis McPeak, and he used to work at Netflix. And this is his story, not my story. And he told it on a podcast, but then I had coffee with him after and he told it to me again because it's such a good story. And he's brilliant and awesome and does cool work. And basically, in AWS, the permissions are really complicated compared to Azure. And I used to work at Microsoft, and I'm like, yeah, 12 permissions, it's great. And it's like, no, in AWS, there at the time, I think there were 112 or 114 different permissions that you could give. This was a little while ago. I don't know if they've made it easier now. But so what would happen is, developers would deploy a new service for like a microservice, an API, something like that, Netflix. And they'd give it 12 permissions, and it's like, oh, the thing doesn't work, so they give it 10 more and it doesn't work, and they give it 5 more, and eventually there's like 82 permissions, and they're like, it works. And they're going to remove the other ones later. And later is when, Jerry? Is it never?
Let me check my calendar. Yeah, it looks like it's never. Yep.
Right. And so basically his boss, Asta Singhal, who is brilliant and still leads that team, and she's really awesome, and she gives talks, and so if you can see her talk, she's cool too. Netflix has done lots of like really cool talks and research papers and stuff. And she's like, yo, like, can you figure this out? And so Travis comes up with this app called Repo Man, and it goes and it like takes away permissions. It thinks, I don't think you need that, and it starts taking permissions away. And well, guess what? It start breaking stuff, right? Because so Asta's like, we are the threat to availability now. Like, stop that. We can't do that, right? Like, we can't harm services. So like, that's not, like, it broke a few things. That's not acceptable, right? So come back. So he comes back with Repo Kid.
Okay.
And
I like the sense of humor there. Not Repo Man 2, but Repo Kid. Little smaller. Yeah.
I love it.
Lowercase r, right? Yeah.
I know. I love like his attitude, and so what he came up with is there's this thing in AWS called CloudTrail, and it logs all the different things that happen and what permission was used. And so he set a thing that watched it for each service for 30 days, and after 30 days, all the permissions it didn't use, it made a list, and then it removed them, but then still monitored to see if it called any of them, and if it called them, it would return them. And so then after 30 more days, I think it was 30 more days, I think maybe it was like 60 to 90 days total, this experiment, they removed something like 84% of all permissions across their entire AWS cloud. And they didn't break one single thing, because
that's great.
Completely put on its head the way to, and so then from then on, that's what they did. And as a result, like, their permission set is very small, their blast radius is like minute in comparison, and he didn't piss anyone off. So he did very good usability, so developer experience high, but security compliance even better. And I was so impressed. Like, that's the most beautiful implementation I've heard of.
Yeah. That is cool. For those who don't know, there's a term in our industry called secure by design, and it's like, or shift left, depending on who you're talking to. But the idea is that security has always been bolted on, right? Like you develop the product, you deliver the product, and then you figure out how to secure the product, which is always awkward because the product wasn't designed with those things in mind. So then it becomes very janky. But secure by design would be like, developers, what permissions do you need? And we'll give them to you, but the developers don't know yet because they're not sure exactly what they're going to implement and stuff. So that is such an elegant solution. It's like, instead of like 2 chyrons shift left, it's like 1 chiron shift left. It's like secure by like piloting, kind of like, it's in that piloting phase. I love it. I'm all in on that. What was this guy's name? Travis
McPeak.
All right, Travis McPeak, I owe you a beer whenever I run into this guy.
Yeah, I think he's doing a startup now, and I'm very excited to see what he builds.
Very cool. Yeah, Netflix, you mentioned that. Netflix has some great cybersecurity stories out there of like resilience, and like real quick, and then I want to get back in the book. Do you know that Netflix has like one of the most prolific red teams? They have a red team that's like a next level, and all that red team's job is to hack Netflix, and it's awesome. I mean, you want to talk about purple teaming? Tanya Janka, she hacks purple. Netflix is purple. I know it's red. The end goes dum dum, and it's red, but they are purple hardcore.
I know. It's very cool. I feel like so Asta Singhal, she leads that team, and like, yeah, she does an amazing job. They're lucky to have such talented leader. So the next subject in the book was secure defaults and paved roads. And so, dun dun, Jerry. So, like, a secure default is making sure the default way to do the thing is the safest way to do the thing. And then, in my opinion, a paved road is like we make the easiest way to do the thing the safe way. You can still, quote unquote, off road. So you can undo and go do the thing. But then it's an active decision. And ideally, you're getting some sort of exception and you've documented why you're doing the thing, right? Like, or that's my idea. What do you think? Or
well, I mean, either, you get an exception, or at least when there's a configuration change, you can flag it with logging and have a detection in place to, kind of automate the documentation of it, that at least it was changed. I hadn't heard the term paved road and going off-road by design. I love it though. I'll probably start using it, and then I'll try to credit you as best I can.
No, it was Netflix that came up with that.
Oh, Shay. Okay. So secure defaults. I'm glad you spent time on this. Here's my thing. I always like to think about, because of GRC, I always try to think about like what can modify or incentivize the behavior from the end user that I want. And a lot of times you got to remember, if you boil it way down, all they want is to do the thing. A great example of secure default, I wish everybody did this, is when you get a router, like in 2026, when you go buy a router, typically, or you get one from the ISPs in the United States, like Verizon, AT&T and stuff, there's a sticker on the side of it that has a unique password, and you have to log in to the box with that unique password, or you use a admin panel, like a web admin panel, that they're not asking my Aunt Dorothea to, like, reverse thread a Ethernet cord and jack into the CLI, but like you get into a web panel and then you have to either change the password or, just log in and activate it. And to me, that means that there's no Googleable, like, what is the TP link default password? So the router itself could be hacked eventually, but it is a secure by design. And here's the thing, why I like it. If it was a TP link admin, and there was a sticker on the box that said, before you use this, please change the admin password, and you could just rip that sticker off, plug it in, and it would work, nobody would change it, because the end user wants to be online. That's what they want. If you plug it in and it goes online and they can't go online and watch Netflix or whatever, and there's a big orange sticker that says, hey, are you trying to get online and it's not working? It's because you have to do this one thing. 100% of people will do it because they want to get online. They want the thing. And if you just do that, like, not to the level of like abuse, but like if you just incentivize them, same with multi-factor authentication, people grumbled about it, but like at the end of the day, dude, if you want to log in to Microsoft Office and do your job, you're going to have to do complain all you want, but then you're going to be complaining in the unemployment line because you're not going to work here if you don't do your job, and you need a multi-factor to do your job. So your gripe is noted. Please move along. All right. So secure default, I'm here for it. Let's go.
I would really like it if our industry invented a new MFA option that was less painful than we currently have, because people don't like it. And the thing that I'm seeing replace it is device flow authentication, which is where you go to the page and you want to log in, you put in your email address, and then it emails you a special link, and that link just brings you in automatically. And they're like, the authentication is that this is your email address. And I realize if someone compromises your email, that then they've compromised that. However, if someone has compromised your main email, you're having a real bad day already, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's not as secure as MFA, but it is better than just username password, with so many users doing password reuse, and then so many companies having password breaches where they haven't properly stored passwords. Device flow authentication is like something that more users like. However, I find it super annoying because I'm sitting there waiting for 30 seconds, a minute and a half, or whatever. And it's like, you have 16 seconds to put this thing in. And I'm like pasting it right at the end of when the time's running out because my email's arriving slowly. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
just let me in to do the stupid thing I want to do. Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think that there's great, a perfect solution. I kind of like, I know that this isn't applicable for all circumstances, but like, I have enjoyed, like, anytime I have to log into Discord or Signal or Telegram, those services specifically, when you go to log in, if you're already logged in or authenticated on a different device, like your phone, it'll put a QR code up and you can just scan it. And like effectively you're able to authenticate to the desktop app because you're already authenticated on your phone. And to me that, I mean, you don't even have to type anything. You just have to like slide your finger up and look at it with your camera. That to me is like a pretty smooth experience. I like that. I've never had to do hardware keys. I know that that's like super secure. I guess I did have in the military, there was or when I was a contractor, not military, but like I worked for the Marine Corps, and we had like badges that had like chips on them. You know what I mean? Like it was a hardware key. You had to plug it into the laptop to activate the laptop. But if you lose the card or you forget it at home or you bend it or something, you're toast. You got to go wait in a line like the DMV.
Yeah, when I worked in the government, we had all sorts of different, like a pass with RFID. I remember at one point we had like a bingo card, and then depending upon the day and the month, it would go like this grid that we would then, that was the number for that day. That's
super scalable. Like,
yeah, there's like a thing that would have a token that changed every 30 seconds that we'd have to type in, and then we'd have to carry this token generating thing with a battery everywhere we went. And there's just like so many. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And people are now arguing about Signal desktop and talking about cheese. Because I used to have a live stream every week, and I would ask different members of cybersecurity jobs, so like different types of career positions. I'm like, I want to ask how much money you make, but I don't want to ask specifically your salary. I want to understand, like, does being a journalist versus a security architect versus an AppSec engineer versus a pen tester, how much money you make. And I would ask, when you go to the grocery store, can you buy as much cheese as you want, or are you only allowed one kind of cheese? Because I remember I felt like I made it in my career when I went to the grocery store and I was like looking between two different types of cheese, and I realized I make enough money now. I don't have to count every single dollar of what's going to be in my grocery cart. I know however much I put in there, I can afford it now. And then I was like, I'm going to get both cheese.
Yeah.
And so welcome to the stream, Ben, because he is like, what about the cheese story?
That's so funny. I hadn't heard the cheese story before, but yeah, I totally like that and can vibe with that, because I think I've been on both ends of the spectrum on financial instability and financial stability. So yeah, I can vibe on that.
What topic in the book did you want to do next? Like, did you want to do assume breach? Did you want to do defense in depth? I mean, supply chain security seems like, yeah.
I mean, I feel like supply chain is what we should be talking about in 2026. It's like, it's like, it was always a thing where you could attack, a contractor to get to the federal government, but now it's like out of control with all these SaaS applications and third-party providers doing all the services. Like, it's really cool for a business in 2026 to be able to scale up and be like a one-person business or a two-person business and have QuickBooks for all your bookkeeping and, HubSpot for all your marketing and CRM and Canva for all your digital graphics and AI for your marketing and socials. And, all these tools are great, but unfortunately, there are so many challenges with the access that you give these tools internally to your own environment, as well as all the data that you give into these platforms. There have been numerous high-profile cases of third-party breach leading to significant compromises. I mean, there was some in the news today, but I mean, like, look at SolarWinds as an example, right? That's a pretty straightforward example. SolarWinds. Look at Snowflake, right? Like, I didn't even heard of Snowflake before the breach happened, and like apparently every Fortune 500 company in the world in the United States is using them. So yeah, unfortunately, it's very difficult. And I point this out on my morning threat brief all the time. Like, you can be as secure as possible. I could give you infinite budget, right? You have infinite money. Everybody in the stream right now, you're instantly hired onto this fake company's information security team. We've got the best, the brightest, the most money, and we're still going to be front page news because some third party company we use for marketing had all of our customers' information so we could send them a little note around the holidays to wish them a Merry Christmas. And they got compromised by some threat actor because they had the trashiest security. And even though when we interviewed them and reviewed them, they said they were great and they were SOC 2 compliant. And yes, the reality is, you know what? Another thing that stinks is when these things happen, this happened to Mercedes-Benz. This happened to Nissan Motor Company too. Mercedes didn't get hacked. Mercedes was secure. A third party that had Mercedes customer information got hacked. But the news story on Washington Post said Mercedes-Benz hacked, right? So you can't even wash that away. It's like reputational damage and you did nothing wrong. If I was the CISO over there, I'd be so pissed because I'd be like, this is a reflection of me. And we did nothing wrong. We did everything right. So yeah, supply chain 2026, very difficult to solve, but critically important for practitioners to understand and appreciate. And really quickly, Tanya, since this is more for, developers and app dev and AppSec people, everything I just flipped out about is business to business where you're outsourcing service. We didn't even get into NPM and PyPy and development libraries that people integrate and ingest into their own code bases, or MCP servers with your AI tooling that are now getting compromised by threat actors and having downstream stuff, right? There was just a major attack where I wish I could remember the victim, but like the Trivy security scanner got hacked and there was like a remote tool into some light LLM tool. So there was entire businesses that were absolutely pwned because supply chain of open source software. So there's multiple dimensions to it, even though it's under the same kind of banner of supply chain security.
Can I put you on the spot for a moment and get you to define what the software supply chain is? And I'll give you like a minute or two to like define that, because I feel like everyone's definition is different. I feel like the definition has changed, and I'm going to like spotlight you in that because I'm learning how to use StreamYard.
No, it's good. It's good. I'll give you all 30 seconds on this, or 60 seconds. And this is my own take on it. Okay. So when we talk about open source supply chain, or even just supply chain in general, let me start with an example. Okay. The year is 2021. It's December. Everybody's got their Christmas trees up or their holiday decorations. Everybody's feeling good. And then all of a sudden, December 17th, people start losing their mind because Log4j, some Apache module that no one's ever heard of, is instantly hackable, super easy. And people are like, do we have Log4j? Like, it was everywhere, right? Very easy to check too. Okay. So no one knew if they had Log4j. It come to find out it was like a little logging module in an Apache thing. And you may have had it in your environment because you installed some application, like let's just say Microsoft Word. Okay. But Microsoft Word used it for some plugin feature that they used on the ribbon across the top from some company that they acquired. And that company had done something a while back. So there's like 5 degrees of separation. So no software bill of materials was going to list Log4j. Okay, so that is a case study of what the problem is and how it can manifest. So what is open source supply chain concerns and issues and security? The reality is, if I were to say to you, what is your mother's father's first name? Okay, so like your grandfather on your mother's side, right? You probably know your grandfather on your mother's side's first name. Okay. Now, what if I said, what was his mother's first name, or his father's first name, even, unless it was like a generational thing, like Dickie the fourth, Dickie the fifth, right? Chances are you don't know. It's because every time you go up a generation or you go down one kind of step away from where you started, it gets murkier and darker. And that is what security is. So let's pretend that we're coding up some type of little calculator app, right? That's a classic. We got a little calculator app and we're doing the things and we write it, but we want to be able to Actually, calculator is too simple. Let's do some type of like data aggregator thing. Okay. So we're coding and we want to scrape websites. So instead of writing a scraper, we go to PyPy or some repository, we Google it and pull it off of Stack Overflow, and we get beautiful soup, right? This library that everybody integrates and pulls in. Okay, so now you've got that in, and it just says import beautiful soup. All right. So do you look at where beautiful soup pulled in any dependencies that they had? Probably not. But let's say beautiful soup pulled in to their source code something called snafu.py, right? If I told you like what code is in my piece of software, like Jerry, this is a great piece of software. We want to put it in production, but we need to do an SBOM. Tell me what's in there. I'm like, the only thing I brought in was beautiful soup. Great. We're going to document it. So where I am, it's crystal clear, pure sunlight. One step below beautiful soup, it's like 80% sunlight. Like you can see it, you know it's there, it's documented, but it's a little dark, right? Now, if you wanted to, you could look into beautiful soup and say, what did beautiful soup? Oh, they use snafu.py. Another column in your graphic that I'm building, but that one is like 40% illuminated. And as you go, if it goes any further down the pike where really complicated software like this SAP implementation or Windows operating system, like as you go further down, you're going to get 0% visibility. You're going to have no idea because it's baked in, and if we're getting into compiled, forget about it. So it's baked in and starting to get pulled in. Same with like dynamic link libraries for Windows executables. Like you don't know what's going on in there. So for me, that is the supply chain around open source software security. The Log4j demonstrated it perfectly as a risk. Nobody knew where it was. There was no easy way to check it unless you checked if you were vulnerable for exploitation. That was the only way to confirm it. And that's how it can manifest. And the way I outlined it is why it's not an easy problem to solve.
Yes.
How did I do, Tanya? Was that snackable?
It was snackable. I want to add to it. So my definition of supply chain for software keeps expanding. And so every single thing that you use to build your software and to maintain your software and to host your software is part of the supply chain. So that means your IDE and the plugins in it, right? That means your CI and all the settings and plugins, all the artifacts that you create, your code repository, the settings on there, the access control. I've worked at 2 places where we lost the code repo, and you better believe it, that sucked pretty bad. And so all of those things, like from the beginning, all the way till the day that you decommission that software, every single thing you use to build and maintain it is part of your supply chain. And if one of those things is attacked or malfunctions or is intentionally maliciously changed and fails, you have a problem, right? And so I've been updating the way I think about this since I wrote the book. So if we look at the past couple of years of like the CrowdStrike and Verizon breach report and the other like big breach reports that come out, some of the big ones, they're calling it a supply chain attack. But I would say some of them, if we look at it, they actually compromise the developer themselves.
Yeah.
Some of them. And when you compromise,
is a good example. Yeah.
Yes. When you compromise a developer, Jerry, though, you have access to every single thing that incredibly super powerful individual has access to. So that means, like, let's say you install a plugin into your IDE and you're like, cool, and it's malicious. And then it steals some secrets off your desktop. And then also because YOLO, it also tries to like rob your crypto wallet because there's no line that's too low for criminal actors. And then it tries to push code to the code repo. And then it's like, hey, I also have access to like approve it in the CI. Cool, I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to, disable some of the security checks in the CI because I have access for that. Oh, can I push to prod too? That sounds fantastic. And so if you compromise the developers' accounts or systems, like that means you can do a million things that you shouldn't do. And so malicious actors are now focusing not just on, I want an injection in this one app so I can compromise this one database, or I want to try to attack, this one CI that releases this one app. I want to own everything. I want a senior developer. And like when you get a senior developer, like they're superheroes, right? And
Oh
so
yeah.
we need to protect, like I feel like security teams need now to consider developers part of the attack surface and actually protect them like as employees, as individuals, as high target attack surface, if that makes sense. Like
It
not that
does.
they're not humans, they are people, but to protect those people.
Yeah, I mean, I tell, from a CISO perspective, this is like a very hot take, or least a less popular option, especially with like CEO. But like, listen, people take new jobs, and a lot of times they hide that they're doing it because they don't want to get fired or seen as like a traitor or whatever. And unfortunately, developers, if you pretend you're from Meta, Google, whatever, FANG company, and you're like, oh, we like you, here, take this test, and it's malware, right? They're not going to say like, oh, hey, I was like trying to do a new job interview, and I got compromised. So like, I always say, like, again, it's not popular, but like, talk to the dev team from a awareness training, or really if you can send a blast out company wide, that's better. But like for these high value developer, you could target just the development team, but say, listen, let's be real, guys. Like, everybody loves the company, everybody loves our mission, but at the end of the day, if someone's going to offer you more money, I would leave too. So just know that these type of attacks are coming. You are a highly desirable target. You will be attacked, and you need to be aware of it. So like, I'm sure you're going to go and sit in your car for your lunch break because you're actually doing a phone interview, that whatever. I'm not judging you. Just be aware that threat actors know this, and they know you're going to be quiet about what you're doing, which means you're not going to tell us if you get compromised. So let's just all be adults here and be careful.
Yes. This is, so obviously I'm biased because I sell secure coding training, so grain of salt for everyone. But like, that's why we need training, right? Because if they're not aware that they're a target, how can they protect themselves? Next week at Snowfrock, I'm actually teaching a workshop on this. And I'm going to start hopefully like teaching that workshop more regularly about like, you are part of the attack surface. How can we defend you? And how can you defend yourself? Like what I want is like, a policy, like an org-wide policy. What I want is a tool eventually that we can buy that does these things. But for now, how can you protect you right now, right? There is a really awesome question from Daniel. So potentially outside of the book scope, but since that hasn't been too strict, you are correct, Daniel. What changes do you see us needing to make as AppSec practitioners to deal with AI-backed attacks? I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I also don't want to always speak over my guest. Did you want to do this one, or do you want me to do this one?
I mean, he's saying as AppSec practitioners. So I mean, I think I have thoughts about dealing with AI and AI based attacks. But since you're the AppSec, expert in the room, you should take this one.
Okay. I would say that, so there's a bunch of different AI risks. And one is, that there's AI is being used to attack, but they're still doing similar attacks, right?
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Yeah.
And so maybe it's happening more often, but we've had scripts for a long time. I would be more concerned about how AI is being used within your organization. So do you have shadow AI? They're using AIs that you haven't approved and you don't know the quality. They're using AI, there's no guardrails, there's no security tooling around it. You don't have any policies on it. It's not part of your system development lifecycle to make sure that the code coming out of there is secure. Maybe you have developers that are just saying, here's my spec, build it, and then they're just committing it. While meanwhile, they're doing another job somewhere else, right? I'm seeing this where people have more than one job, which anyway. Yeah. Thoughts on that? Like 2 full-time jobs, but like they're doing them during the same 8 hours. I don't mean like one's a weekend job and one's a
no. Overemployed, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Are they vibe coding and not doing any security checks? Are they going so much faster than the AppSec team that you could never have a chance to get at it? the things that the AI is creating, is it listing a bunch of dependencies that don't exist? So I want to make sure that I've taught them, that I have a policy for them to follow, but that I've taught it to them rather than it's a stick I run around and hit people with. I don't think that's the best way to do it. Show them how you want them to use the AI, give them an AI, and this is the one they use, have guardrails and other things around it. So maybe you have a RAG server, maybe you have prompts that are in memory that happen every single time system wide. Then maybe you have an MPC server or MCP. I get the acronym confused, but basically where you have certain checks that happen every time. So basically adding AI to your system development lifecycle and checks for that. And then also use it to your advantage. So like when you're doing a threat model, ask it if it has some threats you've missed. Or different mitigation ideas. Ask it to review your code to see if it's secure, like et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different things that you could do to add value there. And so I feel like the attacks being made by an AI concern me less than the AI being used improperly and unsafely, and that resulting in brand new problems, personally.
Yep. I'm with you. I don't think, I mean, prompt injection is like a new attack vertical, I guess, if you want to call it that. But like, aside from that, like the way threat actors are using AI to write phishing emails and develop exploits and stuff, like it's the same thing. They're just doing it faster, right? So, and yeah, shadow AI and governance. I will say I went to RSA this year. By the way, I can't believe we didn't connect at RSA. Like I'm like stunned. When I found out you were there, hey, what's up, CloudStrife? I didn't realize you were there until I got back and saw you post about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. But
I actually wasn't feeling super well and spent a lot of time in bed that week, honestly.
Oh, all right. Well then.
Yeah, I was sort of like really exhausted because I've been doing so much travel that I got there and I kind of crashed.
Okay. Well, then it probably worked
So
out.
a lot of people missed me.
Yeah. Well, you're in demand, Tanya. You're in demand. So I'll just say that if it's helpful for anyone, the vibe at RSA did feel like there were more people talking about AI governance and managing AI. And essentially they're like, oh, we can have 5 agents or 10,000 agents. Great. Let's do that. And then like, oh, wait, we have to manage all that. So like businesses are starting to think about governing and managing all that AI. And there's also, I saw a lot of tools that are now doing visibility. Some EDR tools are baking in visibility. And then some tools, like I saw a tool called Island that is their whole shtick is like AI visibility and usage visibility. So yeah, so there's that. No, bummer, no Deadwood. I'll be a Deadwood. So and Simply CyberCon and Black Hat.
I'm going to go. I mean, assuming one of my talks is accepted at one of the events, I was going to go to Hacker Summer Camp, so Black Hat, DEF CON, et cetera, et cetera. Usually one or more of them accept something, so we'll see. I've submitted what I feel is something really good. I just submitted one thing to Black Hat, and this is my year, Jerry, but I'm teaching at Black Hat, so I will be there for sure. Okay. It's just like, will I be there the entire time, or will I just be there some of the time? But I'm going to reduce some of my travel going forward, adding training gigs to all the conferences. It's just been like a lot of travel.
I get you. I got you. It's exhausting. People, again, we talked earlier about being young, and I want to stay up all night. And then when you get old, you're like, I go to bed at 9:30. But like, same with travel. It's like, oh, you get to go everywhere. It's like, oh my God, I wish I didn't. Like, I wish I couldn't leave. Like, it's just so funny how those perceptions change after, I guess, experience.
Well, people are like, oh, it's so glamorous. I'm like, yeah, getting up at 3:30 in the morning is not glamorous. So that you can go catch a 6 a.m. flight, and then you arrive at like 3 p.m. in the new time zone, and you're just like, I kind of want to just go to sleep for about 4 days. But I actually have to go host an event now. Yay!
I know. Just pound a Red Bull and go for it. Yeah.
For the topics that are left in the book, I just want to, Daniel added a comment. I wasn't as concerned about the direct AI-driven attack thing until I read the Glasswing announcement the other day. We've definitely had issues with AI misuse internally feeding schemas, prop data, etc. Yeah. I know there are definitely new attacks happening. Here's the thing. I'm just going to be blunt. So something cool will be in the news, like a 0-day or like a brand new novel, brand new type of attack, right? And everyone freaks out and they're like, how do we defend against that? But if you look at your AppSec program and all the outstanding holes and things you're not doing, there's usually a ton of basics that you don't have covered, which is how someone's going to own you most of the time. So I do want to say one last note on supply chain is that the advice used to be auto update and update as much as you can. Turn auto update off for dependencies now. Turn it off. And what you want to do instead is set a setting where you only update to something that's 7 to 10 days old. Because if it comes out and it's malicious, we as an industry will catch it in the first couple of days. Like the framework providers are, I know that it looks like NPM isn't doing a good job. No, it's that they're being attacked so much. They are doing a good job. They're working very hard. Like if you look at React with the 0-day that came out in React in December, their response was so mature, so professional, and so fast. I was very, very impressed with the React folks. But they're under siege, especially NPM. People are just pounding them. And so if you make it so that when you are in dev, you update to everything that's like 7 days or older, then you pin that across or lock file it or both across all of your environments as you promote. So you don't accidentally do an update somewhere. So what is in dev is the same thing that is in prod. And you're releasing exactly what you think you are. That is the new advice in case anyone has missed that, because it used to be update as much as you can, and that has changed. Do not do the newest version. Do not turn on auto update anymore. That's no longer safe. I'm sorry to give you that advice, but unfortunately that is true.
Oh, that's good. I mean, how do you, are a lot of these systems configure? Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of, okay, so when I did software development, it was like the early 2000s. Like everything was still waterfall. We were just starting to experiment with agile. So like CI/CD pipelines and all that hadn't really come on the scene yet. So so is there a way to adjust to set that value to whatever value you want, like 10 days?
Yeah. So someone, Mr. 2FA, I'm just going to share your thing. We have set a freeze time for our dependencies of 7 days. It's days, not dates, and need to override if there's a fix for the 0-day that comes out, which is perfect.
That makes sense. Perfect. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, definitely days would make sense.
So there's tooling. There's tooling to do this for you. There's settings that you can use with for Python with pip, etc.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm all in.
Right. So we're getting close. I was wondering if you wanted to cover the difficulty of patching and then looking at the chapter questions.
Yeah, we could do that. Patching, vulnerability management, a GRC skill, if you will. Now I didn't take notes on this particular section, so I don't recall if it's like patching systems or if it's patching your
anything
itself.
Like we're talking about software and this like building custom software, but in my opinion, Jared, like I've gone to workplaces where they can't release a bug fix. So one place in particular that was in the news a lot after I left and in the news a lot while I worked there, they had an 18-month bug fix cycle. And for an emergency patch, end of the world, the sky is falling, it was 4 months. And I was like, your main threat to this entire organization is that you can't patch. And they're like, shut up, no one wants to hear it. And I actually resigned formally in protest from that organization. Literally had conversations and wrote a letter and was all dramatic. I am dying upon this hill. And like the fact that they didn't want to look at it, they didn't want to see it was a problem. They wouldn't let me test anything because they wanted plausible deniability, which is bullshit. Because we're allowed to swear because it's my stream.
I like it. Let's go.
But like, Jerry, from a GRC perspective, like if you work at a place and like patching is absolutely, very difficult, very time consuming, do you see that as like a business risk? And how bad is that?
Yeah, it's definitely a business risk. It does need to be managed, of course. And I've worked at many places, and there's a bunch of things that kind of get into right off the rip, right? What are these? Develop NCs that implements these rules for dependency updates. Nice, very nice, Mr. 2FA. The reality is, it seems simple. Like, oh, there's a bug, let's patch it. Like, oh, there's a patch. Ah, you got to patch it. Thank you, Steve. So the problem is the devil's in the details. Sometimes you apply a patch and it breaks the machine, or it breaks a critical application, or it's the crowd strike and you bring down tons of customers like Delta Airlines, right? Sometimes there's no patch because you have a Windows XP machine that like makes the business money for some reason, and it lost support 15-20 years ago. Sometimes, and this happened with I don't know if you recall this, Tanya, but and again because you're Canadian, I don't know if it made the news. I'm sure it did, but Equifax got breached a couple years ago, like 5 years ago,
Oh yeah.
and it was Apache Struts vulnerability, and the patch had been out for a couple weeks or a month or something, and people were like, how negligent of you. And it came out that like they just had a super custom version of Apache Struts that they had tinkered and modified and made it work for their business, and if they patched it, it would have disrupted everything. So like they were working through how to disentangle their updates so they could apply this patch. It would have took time, and they
No,
just
it
it never.
wasn't a patch, Jerry. It wasn't even, people call it a patch. It was updating your entire framework multiple versions,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like people are like, "Oh, it's just a patch." No, like when you update your programming framework for a custom app, it's a huge undertaking. It's a project. People are like, "Why don't you patch?" I'm like, "Cuz you don't understand."
Oh
Anyway,
my god, yeah.
Trump feels Tanya.
Like if you go, okay, so just as a quick aside, like look at any kind of like cheap knockoff Android phone that you buy in like a grocery store or something. You can't update the operating system because when Google releases an updated version, it'll dork up all the things that they've stuck on that phone, and they're not going to develop backwards compatibility, or they'll update the apps for the new OS because it won't work, because they charged you nothing for the phone, so they can't pay developers to fix it. So, anyways, what I'm trying to get at with all this is that it's very easy to say there's a vulnerability, there's a fix, do it. It's like saying like there's an open jar, there's a lid, put the lid on the jar and put it in the fridge. Like it's simple, right? Everybody can wrap their head around it. Two things. One, not every lid fits on every jar. So like you got the Windows XPs and stuff. So how do you account for those? Two, you have all sorts of different users in your environment. So if you push a patch out, it might not work for some of them. It may break stuff. It may whatever. So how do you deal with the deltas that are there? Three, people who are on the road and not connecting back to the mothership that missed the update or whatever. How do you deal with those? Um, and so much
Consumers
more.
are
I
hard to
actually,
control.
yeah, honestly, I tell people like patch management is super important. The title of this section is difficulty of patching. So I'm glad you called it out right at the beginning. But the reality is I tell people, and I'm very honest, I say vulnerability management is a great place to get into cybersecurity, but you have to understand that you probably want to get out of it within 2 years, because you will develop a sense of apathy and just like because you can't patch the things. You don't own the app. You don't own the IT. You don't own the server. All you can do is tell the owner of it they need to patch, and it's on them to fix it or patch it. And I'll just tell you this and then leave it after that. I worked at a business, a very large business, and we had one very critical application. It was the most important app, hands down. I mean, it had maybe 1,000 employees working on this application. Okay. And when there was a major update, security update for it, they would only do, it was a 24/7 app. They would only do maintenance once a month, Saturday from 3 to 6 a.m. Whenever there was a big patch or big update, I'd say like, all right, guys, this is a really important one. You guys got to do it. And they're like, all right, we'll put it on the schedule. And then it would happen, let's say 12 times a year, I'd get a patch window. I'd probably 4 or 5 times this would happen. Come in on Monday. Hey, how'd the patching go? Oh, it was great. It was great. We had a couple problems. We ran out of time. 6 o'clock came. We didn't get a chance to do your patch though. Like functionality took priority. So we'll get it on the next one. Right. And like that infuriates me again, because Sometimes security is not seen as the most important item on the task list.
I agree. And it's hard to get people. If a place has had a breach, they behave so much differently, Jerry. But I don't want that to be the thing. Ben asks, is that org still in existence?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, they're growing. Actually, they're a multi-billion-dollar company and they're growing. It kills me. It kills me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. People are agreeing with you a lot in the chat.
Yeah, I don't. It's probably on the apathy thing. It's a great place. It's just you can only tell someone they have to fix this problem so often, and then when you do the reporting and you got to start throwing people under the bus because they're like, management's like, why is the line going down? Like that doesn't look good, and you're like, yeah, because no one's patching the things. Ugh. Do you remember really quick? This is just a fun one for everybody, and then we can get to the questions in the back of the chapter. A couple of years ago, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was an Exchange server bug that was so bad, in which I know that doesn't really narrow it down because they've had a lot lately, but there was an Exchange server so bad that the FBI just proactively went out and patched everybody's machine. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah, I think I do.
Like without permission, they just patched. They just like, basically hacked and patched people's servers because the threat was so imminent that they were like, all right, we're just going to do this. And a lot of people got hurt about it, but for the most part, no one said anything. But like that's the level of like how serious people don't patch their stuff, that like the federal government just did it out of sheer like safety for the greater good.
They're just like, nope, this is happening to you.
Yeah,
it is happening.
No, it happened. They didn't communicate it in advance. They just did it and then told you afterwards. It was insane. All right. This has been fun.
The next stream is May 10th, and I've included a link for if you want to have reminders, or you could just show up on May 10th. You don't have to sign up to come. You could just show up to my YouTube or my LinkedIn or my Twitch channel May 10th, which is Mother's Day at 11 a.m. for me and my friend Ray. So, because people were asking some things, but the questions at the back. So I want to ask the audience for some of these answers, because Jerry, I know you know all of them.
I know. I let someone else play. It's fun. I love this stuff.
So everyone, question number 1, why, I'm going to put in the chat. So why is it important to retest our code after we fix a bug? Why, we fixed it. Why do we care? Why do we need to test it again? Obviously,
we got to go get tacos, Tanya. We did that. We fixed the thing. Let's go grab food.
I mean, I don't know that you're not wrong, but and the answer is regression testing, because we want to make sure we didn't make other bugs by fixing that bug, because it is so common that we do that. And I'm trying to copy from my PDF the next question. Thank you. Good job. Oh, and I'm going to hide this. So the next question. Oh, wait a second. Can I do this? Come on, StreamYard. We got this. And I want to, why is it important that we try to keep our programming frameworks up to date when we build custom software? I mean, I guess that's implied, the custom software part, but why do we want to not be 25 versions behind? Would that be bad?
It still works. I don't get it, Tanya. I can still type into it.
I mean, like, it's still running, right? Oh, I care so very much about regression testing, and many folks do not. Ross, I feel that. I do. So I'm going to answer this question. When we have old versions of the framework, that means security researchers and malicious actors have had more time to find bugs in it. Older versions, we were less aware of different security threats because of, wait for it, maintainability. Because when a 0-day comes out and we need to upgrade off of an insecure version, like if we're 12 versions behind, which it might have been the case for Equifax that there are several versions behind, it's significantly more difficult. because 99 bugs in the code, patch one again, and now you have 121 bugs in the code. That's more like the answer to the regression testing one, but it's still right. We need to keep our frameworks close to, we want them LTE. We want them to be a stable version. We do want it to be 7 days or older just to avoid potential issues, but we don't want it to be 7 years older, right? And another thing, vulnerabilities don't just exist in base frameworks, but with our other dependencies and often depend on newer versions of the framework that we're using. Also excellent, right? So all of these are great answers. I have the smartest readers. So the next question is, which security frameworks seem the most useful to you and why? Because there's a bunch of different security frameworks that I cover, Jerry, and like you as GRC, there's ISO 27001 probably is one.
That is one of them. Yeah. NIST cybersecurity framework is, I always diss on ISO 27001, but there's CIS 18 is kind of like your training wheels. And then NIST CSF is like your let's go. And then you can expand upon that. But in your book, you actually talk about also development frameworks like OWASP and SecDev, I think is one. I'm not super familiar on the security, the application development frameworks, but yeah, it depends on what your, well, I'm not going to answer this question for chat answers the question, not me.
Yeah, so no one is saying any. I find that using, so there's the application security verification standard from OWASP, which is short form ASVS. And I personally find that that is great for pen testers and maybe like the AppSec team when they're doing secure code review, things like that. You can't hand an 80-page Excel spreadsheet to a dev and be like, do this for every app. I don't feel that's realistic. There's DSOM, which is a DevSecOps maturity model from OWASP. There's SAM, the software assurance maturity model, also from OWASP. I think SAM is incredibly, unbelievably thorough and helpful, but you need to take a subset and start with that. If you try to do all of SAM, you'll have a heart attack and die. And I don't want to overdo it for people to start so that then they feel like they can't get anywhere. Someone is mentioning the OWASP top 10. And so the OWASP top 10 2025 version, I helped write that. I joined the project team. I'm a project leader now. And so that came out in December, if you haven't seen that before. So I actually will put that in the chat in a bit. But I have the next question, which I'm going to put on the screen. What is your personal threat model? There are no incorrect answers here. The point is for you to identify potential threats in your life and see if you can mitigate them. And Jerry, I think this is one that, I mean, you're a kind of a public figure. Does that create a part? Is that part of your threat model?
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I never really take a hard position where it would be something that would be so divisive and excitable that someone would, my personal safety or my family's personal safety would be in question. So I as someone who like manages risk and I think about risk all the time. I mean, we do have additional physical security controls on my property, not necessarily because of what I have done and what I have become as a public figure, but just more around best practices and stuff. I will say one episode of my pod. So for those who don't know, I do a live podcast every morning and have done it for years. And one episode, like a spider came down like on me and I was like freaking out or whatever. And later that day, a DoorDash person came to my house and rang my doorbell. And I don't use DoorDash. And I was like, hey, are you got the wrong house? Can I help you? And he's like, Jerry? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hands me this thing. And inside of it was a can of Raid, like spider poison and some fabric softener sheets and a note that said like, hey, like, this is how I handle spiders. Like, thanks, best wishes or whatever. And like, obviously my address wasn't like on stream with me. Now getting my address, if you know how to do OSINT, you can find it. And everybody in my community is a cyber professional. So, but anyways, like that was a little like, I think I did message the person and say, thank you. But at the same time, please don't send me, like, don't like ask me next time, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Part
forgot
of
I was on MTV too. Thank you. I always forget I was on MTV.
I also try to keep my home address off the internet, and because I've had fans that are too excited. And actually, Jerry, I pay to have my lawyer's address as my address on all of my legal documents, and I actually get gifts there quite often, including
Yeah.
like my dad. He was like, "Oh, I thought that was your address now."
Oh my
Because
God,
I'd
that's
moved.
funny.
Yeah, I know. And so he sent me a bunch of books he thought I might like as a gift. And he's like, I couldn't figure out, I didn't have your new address in my phone. So I just looked you up on the internet. And my lawyer's like, what is this
That's so
from
funny. I
Mr.
do have to
Grandpa?
imagine, like, since we're talking about threat models, like, everybody should think about, there's a lot of variables with threat models. So like, I'm an old white male, like I'm not really a desirable target. Tanya, you are female, right? And like that right there changes the threat landscape and the threat model on how you should be, um,
Yeah.
accounting for your protections and stuff like that. So without
The
getting
other,
all into the nuances, but you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, like, so the other day, so I live alone, and I live right now out in the country, and it's like acres and acres, right? So there's a lot of space between me and my neighbors. And it was like 11 p.m. at night, and I have like video cameras, and like I have alarms. So if someone comes on my property, it's like woo 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 in the house, and it's usually a deer. and,
Yeah.
and so it was 11 p.m. and it was like woo woo woo, and I was like, I'm gonna go look and see. And it was a man, and he was running towards my house. And so I look at the video cameras, and I just see like a hood, and the person slamming their fist as hard as they can against the window on my door. I was freaking terrified, Jerry, because
Yeah.
my threat model is like violence. That's my first thought.
Well,
And then
and
the
for good
person,
reason.
yeah, right. And so they slam 5 times. And then I'm trying to like recognize who that person is. And there has been a thing with someone. And I was like, is it that person? It's not that person. I was able to identify from the body, it's not that person. So I'm like, okay, from here down to here. And then I was like, could that be my neighbor? Because the person was like really skinny and tall. And then I was like, oh my God, did my elderly neighbor have a heart attack and her sons come over for help? But I'm like, no, he would call me. He would stay at the door. He wouldn't run, because then the person just ran away. And this was International Women's Day. Of course it is, right? And then I'm just like, so I called my neighbor like at 11 p.m. And, you know, she sends one of the men of the house over to like calm me down, because I'm like, and then we look on TikTok and social media and everywhere. And it turns out my little village of 800 people has a TikTok challenge for teenagers to go wake up houses in the middle of the night as a joke.
Oh.
And it was a teenage boy, but who's very tall for his age. So he looked like a man to me when I couldn't see his face. Thought he was just waking me up, not terrifying me, right? And ran off, and his friends were probably around my fence laughing. But meanwhile, for me, I was terrified. Like I
Yeah.
was just like, because I have had stalkers basically my whole life, and so I'm like, and last
No,
year
I
there
mean,
was
that is very scary. Yeah.
right. And so then we find out like what it actually was. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. And then like by 1 a.m., my neighbor's like, are you okay to go to sleep? Do you want me to sleep on the couch? Like, what do you want? I'm like, no, go home. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Right.
Yeah.
But I was just
That
like,
that challenge sounds ridiculous out in the country. If you did that in the country, in the United States, like in South Carolina, if you did that in the country, you wouldn't get off that property. I'll tell you that. Like, that is a dangerous move.
it is well, and like, I'm like a woman living alone. Like when I was partnered, can't imagine what the partner would have wanted to say to that kid. Right.
Yeah.
Like it would not have gone well for that young man. Um, so like, because I could see like a lot of, yeah, I wasn't impressed. My neighbor definitely wanted to yell at him.
Yeah.
And so like everyone's threat model is so different. Like you don't know what's coming at them. Yeah. A lot of comments here about GitHub and Copilot, but also threat models. Okay, so we just have a couple more minutes,
Yeah.
and I wanted to just do well, actually, I wanna just let the audience ask one more question because we're right at the end, and I feel like we've sort of run out of time, and I really don't wanna keep you over because I know you have 1,200 more things because you're Jerry. Jerry does so much for our community. For people
Thank
that
you.
don't know Jerry yet, like, he runs his own online community, his own online academy. He does shows, he has a podcast, he has live streams. Jerry does a lot and a lot of community service. He participates in lots of other communities. He creates free content. He does a lot of wonderful things. And I just, yeah, thank you for all the things you do, Jerry.
Thank you, Tanya. It's very kind of you to share that with everybody. I appreciate it.
So the last question. So there's two last questions. We'll do both of them because Mr. 2FA has a good one. So what is the opinion about using the inbuilt vulnerability scanning and Copilot in GitHub? I don't think it's that good. I'm just
There you
gonna
go.
it's gonna be super blunt. It
Better
doesn't.
than nothing.
Yep, absolutely better than nothing. But
Always
it
better than nothing. But like,
wouldn't be my first choice.
yeah, yeah. There you go. I like that. Solid answer from an AppSec expert.
And then where can we see you at conferences in the next month? Are you able to answer this off the top of your head first, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was asking you, but I mean, I'm happy to answer. I will be at well, I'll be at Black Hat DEF CON. I'm not speaking. I didn't submit to speak there, but I will be there, and like you will be able to see me at the conference. I love going to that conference. There's so many hallway conversations that I have and people that I get to run into, and Tanya, I got to see you, last year, and I'll be at Wild West Hackin' Fest. I'm speaking this year. I'm going to do a GRC AI mashup talk. It's going to be very sick. And then, of course, we host, or I host, because I'm not busy, a conference called Simply CyberCon. It's going to be, we've expanded it to be a 2-day conference in Folly Beach, South Carolina, November 8th and 9th. And I'm the director of operations for that conference. So I'll be there the day before it starts. I'll be there the day after it ends, and I'll be there the whole time it's happening because it's a lot of work. But yeah, that's where I'll be. Tanya, where will you be?
So May 10th, I will be doing the next live stream, which I'm going to put in a link in the chat so that people can go to it. May 5th to 8th, I'll be at NDC in Toronto, which is a developer conference. June 22nd to 26th, I'm going to be teaching at OWASP Global AppSec. And then after that, I'm going to be giving a talk about the OWASP Top 10, no surprise there. August 3rd, I'm going to be teaching secure coding in C++, and hopefully giving other talks that week. August 24th to 26th, I'm going to be the keynote for Security Festival in Lillehammer, Norway. I've done a lot of cool stuff in Norway. And so that's good. And I'm sorry, there's no discount codes for the book. The publisher owns the rights to it, not me. And then September 18th or 12th to 18th in Denver, Aurora, Colorado, I'm going to be speaking at CPPCon, which is a conference that has 50,000 software developers. And I'm going to be speaking and teaching about Secure C++. And I'm super pumped for that, to talk about like to threat model with them, build secure code, etc. It's going to be really good. And I haven't really decided what my October looks like because it's Security Awareness Month, and it's usually a pretty busy month. So we'll see. But I'm not going to go to Deadwood, even though I'm going to do a virtual talk at Deadwood for Wild West Hacking Fest, but I don't think I'm going to travel there. I've had a lot of travel and feeling a little tired because I keep in between all of these doing different training. So I keep showing up in Ottawa secretly. It seems every other month I'm in Ottawa, which is awesome to be able to get to work with governmental agencies. It's very, very cool work, and I'm very pleased to have it. And that's awesome. But it's a lot of travel and time zone changes. And so sometimes I have to prioritize do I help this awesome, amazing client, or do I go do this super fun community thing? And it's hard to choose.
Yeah, tough problem to have. I mean, a good problem to have, though.
It's a good problem to have. Being wanted makes me feel it's very good. It's very good. Yeah. Jerry, Thank you so much for taking time out of your ridiculously busy schedule. I can't wait till I talk to you next. Send me your calendar link so I can book myself in.
Okay, we'll
And
do. We'll do.
thank you everyone so much for coming. I look forward to seeing you all hopefully May 10th. And if not, just sign up for it. And then we'll send you the link to watch it later. It's also going to be on my YouTube. And then I'm going to include a bunch of the links, the things we talked about, like the link to Simply Cyber, the link to the AppSec course, the link to the top 10. And Jerry, you're the best.
Oh, thanks, Tanya. I'm glad we got to collaborate on a project. It's always fun doing really anything with you.
Thank you. So everyone, thank you so, so, so much. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again next month, if not sooner.